Hello my fellow MCs, Primo here. Right off the bat, I am letting you know I can't pronounce HuoHuo a million times in this video because I can imagine the cringe you all will have listening. So for today, she'll be known as HuoHuo. If you are here for the one-line TLDR, here it is. Pull for her, she will be meta. It's as simple as that. She's an amazing unit and I think after this guide, you'll be thoroughly convinced to add her to your account. Today, we are going over HuoHuo's kit, best Lightcones, traces, relics, and team comps. So let's sit back, grind some Stellar Jade, and let's talk about it.
That's enough courage training for today!
HuoHuo's kit is all-in-one, similar to that of Fushan, where she has amazing sustain and support capabilities. Her kit mainly relies on her ultimate and talent, which gives her the vast majority of her healing and support attributes. Her ultimate is able to regenerate energy for all allies excluding herself by a percentage of their max energy cost, while also increasing all of their attack stats by 40% at level 10 for 2 turns. Obviously, this ultimate can be quite OP for a couple of reasons. Energy regeneration is a big deal, especially for those units that have high energy ultimates or would like to have their ultimate up as much as possible for their personal benefits. The attack percent buff helps a majority of DPS characters, minus Blade, who scale off attack, and would like the buff to help increase their damage output. Other than Ting Yun, HuoHuo is the first to be able to generate energy for allies through her kit, and to top it off, it is for the whole party and not just a singular target. The amount of value that gives alone can be argued to make her an SS tier support. For her talent, this brings in the sustain part of her kit, where she is able to sufficiently heal all allies passively as well as cleanse them. Using her skill, she goes into the sacrifice life state for 2 turns. When in this state, she's able to heal an ally based on a percentage of HuoHuo's max HP when their turn starts or uses their ultimate. Another part of this state is that an ally that is at 50% or lower HP will get healed once, very similar to that of LUOCHA's talent, where he can heal outside his turn. A third part of her talent is the cleansing portion, which when sacrifice life is triggered, will cleanse 1 debuff from the affected ally. This effect can be triggered up to 6 times, and once HuoHuo's skill is used again, the counter for cleansing will reset. Obviously, being able to not only heal but cleanse will help bring preventative measures to a character's sustainability to help with not being imprisoned, frozen, or take dot damage. I can't stress enough how important cleansing can be, especially when you are considering the amount of DPS loss that can be accumulated from losing a turn because your main DPS is immobilized. To work off her talent, her skill is a general heal with AoE capabilities while also being able to cleanse a single target ally. The AoE heal is applied to allies that are adjacent to HuoHuo's position, and unlike Bailu, you are able to target the group of allies you would like to heal. Her technique is one of the more fun ones in the game, as when used, it will cause enemies to be terrorized with Horror Struck. For enemies in this state, this will cause them to flee HuoHuo for 10 seconds. If you were to enter battle with them, all enemies will have their attack stat decreased by 25% for 2 turns. Like I mentioned in my Who You Should Pull For video, HuoHuo takes the best out of LUOCHA, Bailu, and Ting Yun's kit and amplifies it to a whole new level. As important as it is for a healer to sustain efficiently, being able to add support capabilities to give her harmony characteristics, it's just almost unfair.
That's enough courage training for today!
No surprises here, but her best in slot Lightcone will be her own, Knight of Fright, which gives her all the stat boosts you would want for HuoHuo. Giving her an energy regeneration rate boost as well as an extra attack buff to allies, it continues to build off her kit as a support character on top of her healing attributes. A secondary part of her Lightcone is that when an ally uses their ultimate, HuoHuo will restore HP for the teammate with the lowest amount based on a percentage of their own max HP. To correlate with this is the attack buff we talked about earlier, which will be granted when HuoHuo heals an ally. The attack buff can stack up to 5 times and will last for 2 turns. Now the question is if it's worth it. Personally, I just don't see enough value here to be able to recommend pulling for it. I think you can find other quality Lightcones that may not give as much in terms of support, but can do the job when it comes to her healing. If the attack boost was a damage percent boost, that could be a considerable increase in DPS in which we can consider it. But with her kit already supporting passive healing, I just don't see the need to pull for her signature Lightcone. The other 5-star Lightcone that you can utilize for HuoHuo is Time Waits for No One, which increases the wearer's max HP and outgoing healing boost, while also proccing an extra attack on a random enemy based on the wearer's outgoing healing boost stat. It's definitely a solid Lightcone for her since she scales off HP, and every passive listed on the Lightcone would be helpful for herself, but also provide a little extra DPS in the form of the additional quote-unquote attack. Some 4-star and F2P options I would definitely recommend to use are Quid Pro Quo, Perfect Timing, Hey Over There, and Shared Feeling. Quid Pro Quo and Shared Feeling both are more of a support Lightcone where it can help regenerate energy for the team. I personally love using Quid Pro Quo on my healers as it can help serve as a battery for the entire team. Shared Feeling is a great Lightcone since it will increase her outgoing healing stat as well as generate energy for all allies after using her skill. Since HuoHuo needs to utilize her skill every 2 turns to be able to keep maximum uptime on her sacrificed life state, this is a great option for her to supplement her support capabilities. Hey Over There is a great F2P option that will be released in version 1.5 with the limited time event, as it will increase her max HP, as well as increase her outgoing healing boost for 2 turns after using her skill. Like I previously mentioned with the shared feeling Lightcone, Hey Over There actually synergizes amazingly with HuoHuo since the outgoing healing boost lasts for 2 turns, which is the exact timing of when she needs to recast her skill. And finally, perfect timing is here since effect res is such an underrated stat on a sustained unit. The last thing you want to happen is for your sustained unit to be imprisoned or frozen and they aren't able to heal your allies when needed. This Lightcone can help mitigate this problem to a degree by stacking effect res, while it also doesn't hurt to get the outgoing healing boost based on the increase to effect res. The reason why I didn't mention post-op conversation as a suitable Lightcone is that her ultimate doesn't actually heal. Therefore, the second part of this Lightcone won't work. The ERR increase is great, but the Lightcone itself is wasteful, and there are better options out there, at least in my opinion.
That's enough courage training for today.
HuoHuo's trace priority should be as follows. Her talent and ultimate should be first priority, second is her skill, and last would be her basic attack. Like I mentioned earlier in our kit overview, HuoHuo's talent and ultimate are essential to her support and healing capabilities. Because of this, I consider them to have the same priority. You want to be able to get them leveled up as high as possible to help with their passive healing, as well as the vital buffs to increase the overall DPS of your team. Her skill is second but can still be considered important for leveling up. Depending on how much HP you have stacked on HuoHuo, you may come across a situation where you are overhealing and may not need to level it up to its max. And finally, her basic attack only needs to be used when you are in between utilizing her skill between turn 1 and 2. I still would just recommend saving your resources for other higher priority traces. Many of her bonus traces focus on effect res, HP, and speed, which helps tremendously with her healing and ability to resist debuffs from the enemy. Going over her Ascension traces, I would recommend HuoHuo havers be mindful of her Ascension 2 and 4 trace. Fearful to Act has a technique-like vibe to it where it automatically triggers HuoHuo's sacrificial life state for 1 turn upon entering battle. This can be very important for teams that engage with the enemy and may not be at full health. The Curse one is pretty straightforward in nature, but nonetheless very helpful. It gives HuoHuo an increased 35% chance to resist crowd control debuffs, which, as I mentioned earlier, is vital for solo sustained units.
That's enough courage training for today.
With HuoHuo following the abundance path, people automatically assume that going for the 4-piece passerby set will be her best in slot. But to be honest, if you have HuoHuo on a healing boost body piece, you may want to consider running her on the 4-piece MTH set for extra speed support for the team. With the 2-piece set bonus increasing her own speed by 6%, but more importantly, the 4-piece set increasing all ally speed by 12% for 1 turn, it can really enhance your team's damage output by giving them an extra rotation before the turn ends. It's important to know that the 4-piece set bonus does work on HuoHuo since it isn't an attacking ultimate, but one that is directed towards her allies. None of the other relic sets are of interest to me to recommend to you all, so just stick with the 4-piece passerby or 4-piece MTH. For the main stats on the body and boots, I would recommend either healing boost or HP percent for the body and speed or HP percent for the boots. I think the ideal combo here would be the healing boost for the body and speed for the boots, as you will get a decent amount of HP stats from her bonus traces, and the speed boots will help with her uptime on her sacrifice life state. For the planar ornaments, there are a number of different options you can go with depending on your team composition and or substats on relics. The new planar ornament set being released in 1.5, Pentaconning Land of the Dreams, can be a decent set if she's paired with Blade or 4-star Dan Heng. It gives the wearer an energy regeneration rate boost of 5% while also increasing the damage for all other allies with the same damage type by 10%. It's a little niche to be honest, but could be useful if you're looking to pair her up with any wind DPS unit. This is a disclaimer, but she doesn't work as good with Blade as say 4-star Dan Heng, only because Blade's damage doesn't scale off attack. Therefore, her attack buff from her ultimate would not be utilized as efficiently as say Dan Heng. For a more universal support set, I would say your best in slot is going to be Fleet of the Ageless or Broken Keel. Fleet of the Ageless is my personal preference here, since the 12% HP boost synergizes with her kit. Broken Keel is still very solid, don't get me wrong, especially with how much I've been hyping up effect res on sustained units. Add on to the fact that HuoHuo can obtain quite a bit of effect res from her bonus traces and the 2-piece set bonus, and it's quite easy to be able to meet the 30% requirement for the crit damage increase. Honestly, just go with the set that has better substats. You really can't go wrong with neither as a support set. For the main stats for the planar sphere and rope, we are targeting HP percent for the sphere while we want ERR for the rope. HP percent will help her with her overall healing ability, while the ERR rope is vital for us to continually funnel energy and attack buffs to our team members. And depending on what main stats you're running on your body piece and boots, you may be looking at diminishing return if you were to run HuoHuo with an HP percent rope.
That's enough courage training for today.
For ideal team comps for HuoHuo, we can safely say that she can pretty much slot into any team looking for a solid solo sustain unit. Without a question, any team would love to capitalize on her healing and support capabilities and would generally have a need for her skill set. However, you can make the case that some units more than others would prefer her on a team, especially when it comes to her energy regeneration. I can see HuoHuo working on a couple of different team comps, but it really depends on the DPS unit being utilized. Units like Argenti, Dongheng and even Jing Yuan would love to have HuoHuo on their teams for a number of different reasons. Argenti with his 180 energy ultimate needs an energy regeneration to get off his nuclear ultimate in a reasonable amount of time. Dongheng would appreciate HuoHuo as she can not only help him with his personal damage output, but also the team's skill point management. By giving Dongheng more chances to ult, you are creating 2 skill points that the team can utilize for their own needs. Jing Yuan would love HuoHuo by his side since this will help him generate more stacks for his Lightning Lord follow-up attack. With this ultimate giving him 3 stacks, he can more consistently get off his Ascension 2 trace, Batallia Crush. Like I mentioned earlier, Blade wouldn't be an ideal DPS unit to pair her up with, only because half of her ultimate would not be utilized because Blade's damage does not scale off attack. For optimal supports to use with her, I can say that a majority of them can work with her since she isn't necessarily skill point negative, but more along the lines of skill point neutral. Ideally, you would want a support unit that can scale off attack to get the most out of her buffs. Therefore, my recommendation would be Ting Yun, while some sub DPS units could be Yukong, Welt, and Clara. Ting Yun can be utilized with HuoHuo since her skill scales off her attack stat, giving an ally of her choosing an extra boost, while Yukong, Welt, and Clara all have damage output that scales off attack. With Ting Yun being able to get the attack buff from HuoHuo, users can consider running HP percent pieces on her to be able to make her tankier for enemy hits. Since HuoHuo is skill point neutral, other supports like Asta and Bronya can work as well since they want to utilize their skill as often as possible to get the most out of their kits. Overall, she is a pretty diverse character that can work with a multitude of different units. Honestly, other than Blade, I can see her easily slotting in with most team compositions and performing effectively for your account.
That's enough courage training for today.
And with that, this will end my full build and guide video on HuoHuo. If you like the content, please like and subscribe. I place HuoHuo quite high on my preferred sustain units, if you can't already tell, because I love how multifaceted she is. Any account that ends up pulling for her, you will definitely not be disappointed. Let me know in the comments below if you're going to pull for HuoHuo, and if you are skipping, who are you saving for? But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.